and shit.
Come to Texas.
We's doing some whiskeys and shit, y'all. How y'all's doing? Welcome, one and all, to another premium spirits review here at the K.O.E. Nation. We are going local today. We are taking a look at the Loup River Distillery. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil K.O.E., joined by my indomitable broadcast partner,
Blendmaster, Tony G. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, it feels good to live the good life.
Yes, here in Nebraska. Now, today we are going to review, in particular, Loup River Distilling Nebraska Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
Yes.
From our grain to your glass, 43% alcohol by volume, 86 proof. Corn. Here in Howard County, Nebraska, we pour our heart into our grain and our grain into a glass. Nebraska Straight Bourbon Whiskey is the heart and soul that runs through everything we do at Loup River Distilling. Barreled and aged for 2 years, Nebraska Straight Bourbon Whiskey uses only the highest quality corn grown on our land. Now, in order for it to be bourbon, it has to be at least 51% corn. I think you can have it 100% corn if you desire, but I think that's mostly what this is.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly corn. We have the whiskey. That review should be up by the time this one drops. We've also gotten into this Howard Hooch before. This is unaged corn whiskey. We did this for a toast to Andrew Jackson's birthday because this is actually pretty close to the kind of whiskey that would have been around in his day. Now, probably would have been rye, unaged rye, but we figured that was close enough.
And it's nice.
Yeah, it actually is really good.
Yeah.
It cost me like $16, and it's
nice.
actually, it's corn forward. Who would have thunk? And then this gin. Okay, I don't like gin. This is at least better than Tanqueray. All right, I like a lot.
Sure.
By a lot. Like, yeah, that doesn't offend the nostrils like Tanqueray does. It's an assault on every sense.
Do they have a vodka?
Yes, they do. I just haven't stumbled upon that bottle at a price.
Once we have an entry of all of their offerings, we will do a Loup River Distillery offering review in total. But today specifically, Loup River is battling for a spot specifically in the
Bourbon Tournament, folks. The Sweet 16. We have 6 places filled already, and we are going to see if the true dark horse, the local boy, is going to be able to rise above and match wits for wits. Tony, we got some pretty big heavy hitters here thus far. Right now, the 6 slots that we have filled. We have Blanton's, Colonel E.H. Taylor. We've got Booker's. We've got Four Roses Small Batch. We've got Jim Beam Black. We've got, and this is the one that I'm really curious about, how they're going to match up, TX Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So we're going to give this one a taste test and review today. And
see if it meets up to the
see if it makes it into the tournament of bourbon champions.
Now, I have had this one time before, just a couple of weeks ago. I had it on ice. I had it after trying the Spring Creek whiskey. I enjoyed both pretty well. Enough to pick up a bottle of this myself. And goodness, I think for only being 2 years old, the bourbon is quite nice. And I gotta say, for being in its infancy, I think there's a lot of potential for their entire lineup. So, I'm excited to see what you think of the bourbon and see how it stacks up some of the other ones that we have sampled.
So, Nebraska Straight Bourbon Whiskey from Loup River.
Oh, wow.
Wow, very caramel.
Yeah, lots.
Mm. Not getting any grain.
That is a great note. You got to get deep to get the grain. It's there.
It covers the ethanol very well.
Yes,
There's
it
no
does.
offensive ethanol.
No, it's just sweet. It's a very nice nose. But I can smell the corn. It's very sweet.
It's very corn heavy. I'm going to guess the mash bill is at least 70% corn, if not almost entirely.
Say you're right. I like the nose of this. It's not intrusive. It's very appealing. Your bourbon aficionado might say this isn't quite complex enough, but
Just getting started distillery.
it's
out
2
here
years old.
What I like about Loup River is it's not in the major metropolitans of Nebraska. Most of the Nebraska distilleries are pretty much bunched around Omaha. But this one,
Kind of
it's
middle
out
of nowhere.
It's out in farm country, and
Yeah.
so that's where we are. And so we figured we're gonna give it a shot. Now, Tony, I am very curious about this. We're gonna give Loup River Nebraska's own bourbon. This is made of water from the Ogallala Aquifer. So
Some of the cleanest you'll
water
find.
is the backbone of any whiskey. So we'll see how this goes. Small burn at the back.
It's got a heat, but it's not.
I mean this in all sincerity, and this is actually a compliment. There's a lot of this that does have certain Jack Daniels. It reminds me of Jack Daniels in certain ways.
Okay.
So within your first 2 years, you have an offering that, to me anyways, is comparable to Jack Daniels. Now, I'm not like Frank Sinatra, not a huge fan of Old Number
That's
7.
fair.
But this has a nice, soft caramel, light vanilla, not getting really much of any wood,
No.
no coloring.
No smoky,
think-
no wood.
This exact
fruit.
casking, aged 10 years, would be amazing.
I think that's the thing that's most impressive about this is that it's only 2 years old, but that nose is so nice. And this is it's an approachable palate, but it's not a hot's not the right word, spicy's not
What's
the right
the
word.
nut that you're thinking of? To me, I want to say almonds, but it's not. There's a nut there, but I can't quite place it.
Cashew.
All right. I think you might be right there, sir. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a slight nuttiness there that's only going to get better with age.
Yeah, I think that's the best part about this is a young distillery. This is a young bottle. And to be this good at only 2 years, it's just going to get better. I think they've got the recipe there. Time is the only thing you've got to give it.
Good grain,
Yep.
and they've got good water. And
Yeah.
water is the backbone of any whiskey. And
Yeah,
it's coming from the Ogallala.
You got a
Aquifer.
head start.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like Tony and I, we live above the Ogallala Aquifer. That's what supplies our livelihoods and keeps our lives going. Like without water, life around here would not be the same. So, this is also whiskey that was distilled and made from Nebraska water. So there does have that. There is that cleanness to it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, people probably take that for granted, but yeah, it's remarkable that you get this clean of a whiskey with only 2-year age statement, and people would just lose their minds over having a clean product like this at such a young age statement.
There's a very thick candy.
There
to it.
is, but
I can't think. Like I don't want to say toffee because it's not toffee, but it's toffee adjacent. It's somewhere in that very dark, deep flavor profile, which will in time become dark chocolate.
yeah.
So this is so Tony, as we're gonna grade this on a couple of different scales here. We're going to we're gonna add an extra one even.
Okay.
We're gonna grade it on a 5-star scale. We grade everything around here on 5-star scales in case you're wondering why. It's the same scales that they rate boxing matches, MMA matches, and some of the greatest performances in sports entertainment. So we're going 5-star scale as a bourbon whiskey.
As a bourbon, it's young, but we know that the ingredients are high quality. And that just, like, if this was only a 2-year-old bourbon with lower quality ingredients, this would fall incredibly short.
Yeah.
But it's got everything it needs to be a contender. It's just very young. I'm going to give it 3.
I'm going to give it 3.25 as a bourbon. It's got all of the pieces there
Yes,
to be a great
exactly.
bourbon, and this is their first offering, so I
Yep.
got to give them a tremendous amount of credit. I wonder who was in charge of their casking.
I think when we go to do the lineup review,
You're worth every penny.
We might just have to go to St. Paul and say, hey, let's just have a sit down and talk about this.
You know, we might have to do that
Yeah.
once this whole thing settles down.
Yeah.
Now, as a whiskey,
for 2 years old, this is great. I really like this.
approachable and mixable.
A couple weeks ago, I went into a bar. I wanted a whiskey. I tried this first. I tried this second, and I was not disappointed either time. The bartender was very generous when he poured me this one, and I love both. But for being as young as it is, I'm gonna say 3 1/4 on a whiskey because it's clean and it's approachable and it's not offensive to any of your senses, and it's just the potential is there.
As a whiskey, this kind of reminds me like the Redneck Riviera.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
young, but it's approachable, and it's just good whiskey.
I was thinking that when I was thinking of this.
So I'm gonna give it 3.5 as a whiskey because I like it.
All right. That's pretty good for a 2-year-old bourbon.
Yes. Now, as a cask-aged spirit, we got to be honest with ourselves.
Okay.
Here.
So obviously, it's an infant in the world of cask-aged spirits. I will say 2.75 because this can only get better. Like, this has so much potential. Like, this could be a 5-star on the cask-age scale.
Just give it a little more time.
More time. Hell, give this.
And so I have to
this
agree
4
with you.
years.
2.75 is very fair. Now here's the.
I can only imagine the 4-year, the 8-year, the 12-year. Like I'm giddy in the anticipation.
Now here's the special extra category that I'm adding. As a Nebraska distillate, as something distilled here in Nebraska versus all the other Nebraska distillates you've had. How do you rate it?
Wow, that's tough.
I know, and we've had a lot more than we want to admit.
That's probably true. Are we including beer?
That's a brew.
Well,
so this is
right,
distillate.
All right.
Ooh, the anticipation, folks.
On a Nebraska scale, 3.75.
3.75.
Yeah.
As a Nebraska distillate, I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Yeah, it's almost there. And
Yeah.
it's 2 years old. I can't say it enough.
We got some other distilleries we got to try yet. But yes, I'm going to stand firm with my review of this. A 4-star Nebraska distillate.
Yeah.
And as I've said, the place that this distillery really stands out is, imagine, you live here in Nebraska, and it's the holidays. You have relatives that are coming back that used to live here and don't live here anymore. This would be a tremendously good gift to those
Everything in
people.
their lineup, just depending on what they like.
Yes, and it's a uniquely Nebraska thing that they can take home with them.
Yeah.
And that's where this distillery really stands out.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm going to stick with my rating there. Now, shelving.
Oh, it's a 2-year-old bourbon. It's going to go on the bottom.
Okay.
I'm being completely honest.
I am going to put this on my middle shelf.
Really?
Yep. And it's It just has a perfect spot next to a lot of other bourbons.
All right.
And this one is going to be competing against the TX bourbon in... I think we're going to have to put them against each other.
No, this
in the first
absolutely has to go in because it's so early into its lifespan that this can actually compete with some of the other bourbons from around the country. That's an impressive feat all by itself.
Now, Loup River, I do apologize. We are kind of throwing you into the deep end of the pool here with some of the
It's
other
not fair.
bourbon. No, but we're going to see how Nebraska stacks up. And I think it's going to surprise people.
I think
It's
some
gonna-
people are going to like this more than
it's-
they would understand that they like it.
Yes, yes. So, all right. Now, $39 a bottle. Will you seek out a bottle of this for yourself?
I do have a bottle of this right
Uh-huh.
now. I'm going to drink that down first, and then I will probably seek out a bottle of this, but I'm going to keep my eye on the distillery and see if they have some other installations into the line in the meantime.
That was going to be my big thing. Was I was going to keep my eyes to see if they release a 3-year release.
There you go.
If they come out with a 3-year,
I would assume we're going to see a yearly installment.
maybe like every other.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're going to see a 4-year release.
Yeah,
And then if they
Which-
have enough to make it to 10,
can't wait.
yeah, we'll
And
be
if they
ready.
don't, we might just grab a barrel ourselves and pour a couple of those into it.
Oh,
Because that's got all the makings of a great bourbon.
yes, yes. Yeah, it's sweet. It's caramel
It's there.
forward.
It is there.
It's yeah, it's got all the ingredients to be a very, very fine bourbon. So, folks, thank you for joining us. And Loup River, good luck to you in the Bourbon Tournament. So now we have 7 entries, Tony. 7 have made it. So, folks, get ready for that when we get there. Keep your eyes on this space because it's going to be some pretty intense bourbon head-to-head competitions. We're going to be doing it here, folks. K.O.E. Nation. Like, share, subscribe. As I'm known to say around here, folks, all that being said, thank you for joining us for this very special review of the Loup River Distillery Nebraska Straight Bourbon Whiskey. As 2 Nebraska boys here, we just felt we needed to do Nebraska proud tonight. So folks, thank you for joining us. I am your King of Extreme, Phil K.O.E., signing off and handing it off to my indomitable broadcast partner.
The Blend Master, Tony G. It's the good life, folks. Thanks for joining us.